What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Mondays Down South. Back at you after a, dare I say, a wild card weekend. Don't have Zach on the line today, just Sai and I, but we're going to be chopping it up, talking about the games, getting you ready for next week. Certainly a ton to talk about after a crazy weekend of football. So, how we doing, brother?
I appreciate you making the dad joke to start the episode because I think we're making up for Zach already. His good, corny dad jokes will be missed. However, we'll hold the fort down. I'm doing well, man. Just got back from the Bay. Got to watch an amazing San Francisco blowout. I call it amazing because I was there while Deebo Samuel was popping off and getting to watch all these SF fans going nuts. So that was a nice start to the weekend. So I'm doing well, man. How about you? How's the New York life going?
Chilling, man. Yeah.
Chill
weekend. Just watch the games. It's about, that's about it.
I see your Instagram activity going up quite a bit recently. I saw a little photo dump to our MDS subscribers. Feel free to check out Evan's personal account. I
appreciate that.
Pictures.
It's on the 2023 goals, and there was like three photos I had at the bank I needed to put up there, so I just kind of snuck them in there, very sneakily. So but I appreciate everyone's support.
We stand a man that doesn't care about likes, because obviously if people are going for likes, I hear the optimal strategy isn't to post a lot at once. I know nothing about this. I'd be posting once every couple months with no affinity for that, but it is hilarious to see Evan just be like, nah, screw that. I'm just dumping everything I got all at once.
I had to beef up the page because I only had like 2 or 3, and I was like, when people go to my page, you need at least 9, right? So they could see a full thing. So I was like, all right, I just need to get these up. So we're good now for another, hopefully not another year.
I'm here for it, man. I'm here for it. Now when people go to our MDS page, they're not going to be confused when they go to Evan's personal profile and be like, who is this random guy? So
just a stranger.
A little more information on Evan there for people that want it. So just wanted to give you a plug real quick, Ev. I think that's a good way to jump into it. I brought up SF, so maybe we should start with that anyway. Shout out Mr. Irrelevant, Mr. Brock Purdy, going off. I think it was like 340 yards and 3 touchdowns. Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey popped off. I don't know that there's a ton to say about that game other than we got the result we expected to see, I think. I think me, you, and Zach were all very much in favor of San Francisco winning that game by a decent margin. Honestly, they won it by more than I thought, though, and I'm extremely impressed with the San Francisco team, and I'm feeling better about having picked them in my Super Bowl as my playoff prediction. So that's really all I got. Shout out SF. It was really fun watching it with the fans.
Yeah, it must have been a cool experience, but yeah, kind of the game we expected. San Francisco was down at half, which was interesting. So Seattle actually played well. The thing about the Niners is a lot of their final scores get lopsided because when you fall behind against them, man, and Bosa and those guys start rushing the passer, it's really, really hard, and you start turning it over, giving them short fields, and it just gets ugly. So they have some massive winning margins over this winning streak, and this is just another where, it was close until the third quarter or something like that, and then we got the game we expected. But not too much to say on that one. They look every bit the part. Brock was amazing. That play to Ayuk that he dropped, I was so mad about. I was like,
I know, but that's a
sick play.
That's like a Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers level play. I'm not comparing Purdy to them, but that was definitely that kind of caliber play where he eluded so much pressure with so many unique moves, and then he put it right in his hands. That's frustrating. You could see Ayuk feeling like he let him down though, but that's a good team though. They had each other's back.
Yeah.
No, that was
that's all I got.
Yeah, I got to give a special shout out to Deebo. I still cannot believe when I was recording, I just thought I would get the fans. And I kid you guys not, like, for anyone that saw my Instagram, I was just recording because I wanted to get the fans' reactions to a play. And then he pops off a 70-yard touchdown, my Gamecock. I was like, that literally was insane, bro.
It didn't compute in my head. Like, I saw the Instagram and I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, you know, getting your boy on. And then it didn't compute to me that the only way for you to have gotten that was to have started before the play and before knowing. Play, yeah. That's wild.
I got so lucky. That was great.
That's awesome.
That's all I got with that one, like you said. I honestly, that's not the most exciting one anyway, because it just felt very clear. But the next one, that'll be plenty exciting, and I think it'll make up for plenty of that game. Special shout out to Trevor Lawrence throwing 4 interceptions in the first half. And then the Chargers managing to lose that game with the Jaguars coming back at home, Duval winning the game. I still don't understand how that happened. I'm absolutely shocked. 27-0 to a Jaguars victory. What do you got, E? That's got to be one of the craziest playoff games I've ever seen.
Yeah, tale of two halves. I mean, like, in the first half, the Chargers defense was flying around. Like, I was talking about, like, you know how Zach last week said the Chargers are going to beat the Chiefs, and I was like watching that first half, man, like, it looked like they could have. I mean, like, you know, the offense didn't have to do a whole lot just because they had short fields the whole time, but, like, that defense was absolutely flying around. You know, the Jaguars looked overwhelmed by the moment, and, you know, I figured it would be too deep of a hole, obviously, to go into half, because a lot of times the young teams, they get shell-shocked at first, they go into halftime, they can regroup, and then they can kind of play a normal kind of second half and start to come back. But I was like, 27 points, no shot. And Zach, obviously, you know, we had a bet on for that one. Zach naturally is like, good pick, boys, 2 for 2. At like halftime or third quarter or something. I think it was even third quarter. We're like, dude, what are you doing? The Jags are coming back, but
Zach's jinx is so impressive because he doubled down essentially. Like, he said the Chargers were going to beat the Chiefs, so he already jinxed them by looking that far ahead, and then he proceeded to double jinx them with that prediction, which I guess isn't surprising because for whatever reason, when Zach says something, it turns into absolute parody. So that was quite the result. I can't get over it though. I thought about it like 100 times, and I'm like, how do you lose that game? Like, how do you lose that game? And I'm getting a little frustrated with people blaming the defense because that is not the defense's fault. Obviously, you got to play better in the second half. I don't dispute that. But if you're going to cause 4 interceptions, 5 turnovers total in the first half, that's on the offense, bro. You got to hold on to your lead. Like, what would the final score? What did they score? Like 3 points in the second half total? Like, that is embarrassing. It's basically the opposite of what San Francisco did, because you look at Shanahan, who's kind of been in that circumstance in the Super Bowl. He blows a huge lead, and he realizes he's never going to let his foot off the throttle. And I was even joking with my buddy Alvin, shout out to him for being a great host in SF, that, you know, it just feels like teams that get down or go up big in the playoffs, the one thing they don't know how to do is, like, when you have a big lead, like, how do you hold on to that, or how do you put the pressure onto that lead? And we saw it here again, and I'm still, like, I don't have words. I'm shell-shocked.
It is wild, and you start to look at the box score and think about, like, how does that even happen? Because they didn't turn the ball over at all either. Like, you think if you're going to blow a big lead like that, it's going to take a couple turnovers, but, like, it's wild. Like, you look at the box score, Eckler only 2.7 yards a carry. That's a big one. So obviously they weren't able to run the ball and keep their offense on the field. And then Herbert, 25 of 43, so tons of incompletions there. Probably a lot of, thinking back, 3 and outs and quick possessions to turn it back over. But and then the defense couldn't stop anyone. I mean, towards the end of that game, when it was, I think, a 10-point game, Jaguars going for the score, I was like, they're screwed here. Like, the momentum is just so strong with Jacksonville. I mean, Trevor was electric in the second half, obviously. But, they fired the offensive coordinator, right, after that, so which makes sense. Like, you just got to be able to control the ball and control the clock there. Brandon Staley is probably on the hot seat going into next year. I mean, but...
Oh, man, I think I'm actually glad you brought that up. I think Staley's getting a little too much crap for this season. He got, like, the number of guys that got injured this year, and for the Chargers to still, keep pace, win 10 games, get to the playoffs. Obviously, this game is a really bad one. However, I mean, the guy's had like 1 or 2 seasons to really show what he's done, and so far, I don't think the Chargers have been any sort of a disaster. I think they need a little bit better offensive play calling. However, I am hearing, for whatever reason, Peyton's new name come up for that team, but then he said he doesn't want the role. So I'm just people are speculating that he doesn't want the role. So I'm real confused as to what's going on there. But all I know is I just want Justin Herbert to get somebody that can help him maximize his potential, because even in a loss, like even if he didn't have a great game, every time I watch him play, I just think to myself, like, that's the future of the NFL right there. Like that's a guy that's going to, be a future Hall of Famer. He's terrific. So that was a real bummer to see him lose that one. I really wanted to see a KC Chargers matchup in the next round, Herbert versus Mahomes, but we're getting a different matchup, and that's fine.
Yeah, just the 2 years in a row, right? Staley, he has the opportunity to win and go to the playoffs against Vegas. Couldn't do it. Mm-hmm. And then again this year. So that's kind of two strikes, and, you build a good team, but then, who cares if you screw up some coaching decisions? And not that there was anything egregious on his part in this one, but
exactly.
These types of things, combination of the play calling and
Agreed.
the head coach, someone needs to be blamed. But I guess we got to give Holden a shout out, right? He was chirping us a little bit for
shout out Holden, true,
picking against him. I sent it to him in the chat. I was like, that was a hard pick. But and he likes to chirp us. But we were critical of Christian Kirk. I'll give him that one. We were wrong there. But I think after week 5, I was on the Jaguars bandwagon saying they were going to win that division. So I got to defend myself a little bit here.
Yeah, I'll give you credit where credit is due. I'll give you credit where credit is due. Holden, if you're when you watch this, I will make this a clip for this reason. Holden, when you watch this, I want to give Evan a little bit of credit, because while Zach and I gave Evan a lot of crap for saying the Jaguars were going to win the division, and we thought very dumbly, we thought it was going to be my Colts, and obviously we're wrong about that. And then we thought it'd be the Titans, and we were wrong about that. It seems like your Jags have proved us wrong time and time again. So Holden, I'll give you a special shout out as a longtime subscriber and multiple-time guest on the show. We appreciate you, and I know they couldn't have done it without your scouting, buddy. So we love you for that.
Love it. Yeah, I can't give myself too much credit, though, because I was 5 games late to the party, right? That's after they had beaten some serious teams, including the divisional teams. So. But now, great run. Keeps it going. They got a chance at Kansas City, coming off a
crazy
huge second half. We'll see what happens. But anything else on that one? I guess we'll pivot to Sunday.
Nothing there.
Dolphins at Bills. This was a shocking result, even though it ended with a Bills victory. But 34-31 is your final. The Dolphins had a more than legitimate chance to win this game. Josh Allen, was kind of a nightmare in the second half. Fumbles for big plays. I think 1 pick maybe. Skylar Thompson, did his thing, but he did all right. It was mainly the Dolphins' defense, though, making huge plays, and special teams that gave them a real shot here in the second half to win this game.
Yeah, what's funny? I don't mean to be rude or keep doubling down on what I've said throughout the course of the season, but this wasn't as much of a shock to me as maybe to others, because you know me, I've been on this train since the get-go. I'm until the Bills can prove to me that in the playoffs they can make even more noise and get to a Super Bowl and win an AFC championship, I'm not going to be able to trust them. And it's not because I don't want to. This is the team I'm rooting for in the AFC, right there with any of the others. I'd be super happy to see them go in a Super Bowl. But the thing is, time and time again, year in and year out, it's nothing is very decisive with them. And I'm not really surprised, because that's what I said at the beginning of the year. I don't know that I felt very comfortable with their ability to hold a lead in big games. And we've seen multiple times this season them having close games, if not losing games to teams that it shouldn't be close. And this was another example of that. Who's to say that if the Dolphins had Tua, I don't know, man. I feel pretty confident the Dolphins would have won that game. For Skylar Thompson to come in, give him a shout out, for him to have the game he did. Still, that game was way too close with them playing a third string quarterback. It's actually I can't even say it's shocking, is basically what I'm trying to say, that the Bills, that was the case. But who knows? This might ignite the fire to be we let this team hang on way too much and keep it way too close, and hopefully it'll get them to play up a little bit going forward. But all I got to say is this Dolphins team and Mike McDaniels, massive shout out to them this season. They dealt with so many injuries and so much this and that, and for them to go out and make the playoffs and still almost beat the Bills, who are one of the favorites, I think they deserve a lot of credit for what they pulled off, and they have a bright future ahead of them, in my opinion.
Yeah, excited to see what they can do with a full season, and hopefully to a healthy, if that ever happens again, hopefully, with all these concussions he's had. But I think this is one of the themes of the weekend, is that the third divisional matchup of the year. I don't care what the situation is, because it's the second one. We'll talk about the other one later. But where you have backup quarterbacks, in this case, I guess a kind of a third string quarterback. divisional matchup, one of the best teams in the NFL at home, and both of these games were really close. So it's really hard when you know a team so well. I don't care who's on the field with the way coaches can coach up these teams. But ultimately I think the story here is, this does not look good if you're a Bills fan. The kinds of the mistakes they made, because they have a team rolling in there next week that does the complete opposite of make these types of mistakes, right? They're the ones that capitalize on these types of mistakes, and they're the ones that make the big plays. So Josh just needs to play better, quite frankly. He gets a big time kind of pass a lot of the time, I think, because everyone really likes him, and he kind of came out of nowhere to an extent. But like, it's not just the turnovers, but it's the catastrophic turnovers that are have been a problem lately. So kind of a concerning one for the Bills for sure.
I think next week they'll still show out. It'll be a really good game in my opinion. I don't know. I just get the feeling anytime a team that has that amount of talent, when they have a game that's that close against a team that they should beat pretty handily, like I usually see them chirp it up. And I do give Sean McDermott credit in games like those to bounce back. It's just, again, until I see the Bills win an AFC Championship, I can never fully trust them. And this is a train I've been on since the beginning of the year, and for years now, actually. So. Anyway, we'll move on. This one, I think Ev is going to be. I'll let you go first, Evan. I'll let you go first. Although I do have a segment I'd like to clip here for sure. I'm gonna jump in after you, but go ahead first.
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying for the last, I think, 2 months, I was like, I don't care who the Vikings play in the first round, they're losing that game. When the Commanders had a shot at the playoffs, I was like, dude, give me the Vikings matchup in the first round. I just. That team, when you look at the point differential on the year, the close games, like that's the kind of stuff that catches up to you in the playoffs. It did here. The Giants are white hot, though. Daniel Jones played the game of his life. One of my takes this week is that we had 2 new quarterbacks emerge into the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL, Trevor Lawrence and Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones didn't manage this game. Daniel Jones won this game. He was, amazing. It's a bad defense, sure, but the way Vanilla Vic, man, he was running that ball, made huge plays. Kirk Cousins actually played great as well. And then on 4th and 8, game on the line, season on the line, he checked it under to T.J. Hawkinson with a little pressure in his face, but it's not a good look for Kirk there, the check down captain. But yeah, I think the big thing here is the Giants played them 2 weeks ago, so they were really able to kind of coach up a few mistakes from a couple weeks ago, make the adjustments, get a win. They were able to do really well on Justin Jefferson. What was his total line? It wasn't one of his bigger games, although Hawkinson ate. So 7 for 47 for Jefferson. Hawkinson
they shut Jefferson down. Whatever the Giants did, they deserve a ton of credit, and I'm pretty sure their defensive coordinator is getting a ton of head coaching opportunity, or a ton of interviews just based off that performance alone. It was something special. I will say this tees me up perfectly, and I'm leaning in for this one because I gotta. All right, it's actually comical to me because I'm starting to realize that the best free agent signing this year, I think the perfect combination for this year. And hear me out till the end of this take. But correct me if I'm wrong. Kirk Cousins has a 1-year contract right now, right? So at the end of the season, he's technically a free agent unless he gets a franchise tag or gets extended. Am I correct in saying that? Do you know if that's the case?
I don't. I can look it up, though. Excuse me. While I just coughed at Kirk Cousins. While you continue your take, I will get your answer.
Go ahead. So I want to take a second to acknowledge all the Commanders fans out there. I believe that Groundhog Day comes for the Commanders fans every year when Kirk Cousins is in the playoffs and he plays a game. Because every year when the Commanders, I'm not going to say every year, but most years when the Commanders haven't made the playoffs, all the Commanders fans sink into their chairs the same way that I did with my Colts this year, and we're all very quiet watching the playoffs. Then the moment Kirk Cousins steps foot on the field for the playoffs, all of y'all pop your heads out of your little holes, and it's Groundhog Day. Because all you want to do is root for that man to burn. That's all they care about. And I'm pretty sure Kirk Cousins losing a game is more celebrated by Commanders fans than if they ever win the Super Bowl again. It is actually comical. I can't get over it. The guy plays a great game this weekend. And don't get me wrong, I realize he's not a primetime guy. I know he's lost a lot of games. And of course he deserves a little bit of crap for his performances. But it's so funny because The guy plays an amazing game, and everyone finds a way to shit on him. Excuse my language, but it's really what happens, and I just can't get over it, man. It's been making me laugh so much. So the point I wanted to make is, and Evan, I hope you can confirm that Kirk Cousins is a free agent after this. Have you figured that out?
Yeah, this contract situation is very confusing. He's officially an unrestricted free agent after next season, but it looks like there's maybe some kind of out. There's a lot of different colors in the SPO track. So
all I want to say is, regardless, if Kirk Cousins hits free agency, I think his perfect destination is to go back to the Washington Commanders and create the funniest, most comical situation in NFL history. Because the funniest part is I actually think he would do very well on that team. But the comedy and parody and the funny aspect of it all is that Commanders fans, since the moment he left them and went to the Vikings, he has become public enemy number one. I'm pretty sure y'all hate Kirk Cousins more than you've ever hated any Cowboy in the history of the NFL. Like, it's just perfect. It's so perfect. It gives me life every week to watch you guys root so vehemently against somebody else. I don't know what else to say. I just wanted to take a second to acknowledge the Groundhog Day aspect of Commanders fans with Kirk Cousins. Thank you for always keeping it joyful for the rest of us.
I like that take. We do really rally around rooting against Kirk Cousins, especially in prime time or big spots. But so you definitely can't cut him this year, but I think next year. He's got a $36 million cap hit this year and a $48 million dead cap. So yikes. He just can't win you the big game. So he played a great game, managed, didn't throw the ball downfield a whole lot game, and they lost to the Giants. So at home. So, well, what does that say? But that's a good take. I like that take.
The one other thing that I will say that might irk you a little bit is I was thinking about it, and I realized in the last 5 years, in the time that Kirk Cousins has been with the Vikings, he has done way more than any quarterback has for the Commanders in like the last 2 decades. So that's the only other point that I'll make when everyone rallies together around the Kirk Cousins. I'm still not saying he is one of the best. I'm just saying it's funny because sometimes I think we don't acknowledge that he's an above-average quarterback as a result of so many people around us just wanting to trash him all the time. He's not prime time, but he's still an above-average quarterback, and he did have a solid season in his defense. But he had to do better.
Who cares if you never have a chance at getting close to the Super Bowl with him, though? And I guess the argument is, can we find a better long-term answer than Kirk Cousins before his contract runs up? I guess that's the argument, right? Of looking back on when we chose not to extend him, right? So what do we got? One more year. It's on Sam Howell now to be the long-term answer. Otherwise,
shout out to the UNC boy.
Maybe we should have bit the bullet on that contract. But anything else on that game? I think honestly, good for the Giants, man. Good for the Giants.
Shout out Daniel Jones, like you said. I got to give him a lot of credit. Shout out Saquon Barkley, boy. Like that man. I've been touting his horn the entire offseason, and I'm so excited to see him shining where it matters. Now, especially in the playoffs, I want him to, eventually win something there because he's an amazing man and an amazing player. So glad he's fully back.
What about Isaiah Hodgins too? 8 for 105 in a score. How about that guy?
Came out of nowhere.
Heard of him. He played amazing. Darius Slayton also tried to blow that game. That drop, man, dude. Darius Slayton is the gift that keeps on giving playing against him. Like, oh my gosh. He played actually really well. He had a good game, but then oh my God, that drop almost cost him the game. But
the other thing you got to give him a lot of credit for is Jones, admittedly, is game managed for most of the year, but this game, for him to pop off the way that he did, it says as much about the Vikings defense not being great, but the flip side of that is he doesn't have a lot of weapons. I mean, it's like Hodges came out of nowhere. Barkley's an amazing running back and can receive, but he does not have a lot of receivers to throw the football to, so we got to give him credit for that for sure.
Yeah, I think they'll probably find a way to bring one in there. But yeah, man, top 10 quarterback. That's my take. Probably just at number 10.
Take, though, bro.
I don't think it is, though.
Bold take, man. I mean, there's the potential there, maybe, but that one game does not make him a top 10 quarterback because
he's played well all year.
No. He's had a solid season. He's been a terrific game manager, but how many quarterbacks have had terrific games against the Vikings this year? And I understand it's the playoffs.
The Vikings are bad.
I understand it's the playoffs, but their defense. I mean, my Colts. My boy Matty Ice, 40-year-old Matty Ice, in the first half, he had one of the greatest games of his season against. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the joke. Like, anybody in the NFL could have a great game against the Vikings. The thing is, usually they're going to put the points back up on you. So, but still, I don't want to take it away from Daniel Jones. He did win that game, and he played great. So we'll see what he does the rest of the playoffs.
I think after this year, though, you'd be surprised if you did that exercise of like, there really aren't that many really, really good quarterbacks in the NFL right now.
It's worth discussing.
So maybe a topic for another time. But I guess move on to Sunday Night Football. I mentioned this game a little bit earlier. Ravens-Bengals, another game with one of the best teams in the NFL, arguably at home, facing a division opponent with a backup quarterback. The Bills, I think that game was close, but it never really felt like the Dolphins were going to win, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. This game, the Ravens had it, man. At the 1 yard line, chance to go up a touchdown pretty late in the game. Tyler Huntley tries to sneak it over the goal line, and it's knocked the other way for a 98-yard touchdown, man. The Ravens really had a shot here. But the Bengals, they made the big play, and they held on to win by a touchdown. So
I got to say, these divisional games, especially in that division, I don't care how good or bad you are, there's something about that division where it doesn't matter who's playing. I don't care if you're the quarterback, Evan. I don't care who's playing. They always find a way to make it close, and they always find a way to make it boring. So you get both components. It's amazing how that happens every time. I got to give credit where credit is due. Shout out to Tyler Huntley and the Ravens for a great season. Shout out to Lamar Jackson for not playing. I don't know if you saw Lamar getting a lot of criticism from Vic and some other guys. And then RG3, I got to give a big shout out to RG3 because he stepped out there and said, dude, like, do you see what happened in my career for me forcing myself to play a game when I wasn't ready? Like, you got to give a lot of credit to I know Lamar is an extreme competitor, and I know, the Ravens would have loved for him to play, but I'm glad Huntley went out there and gave it his all, and, solid season for the Ravens. But regardless of all that, I think the Bengals obviously had a scary one, but Sam Hubbard, 98-yard touchdown return, Bengals right back in it, and I think next week, this will be, again, the Bills and the Bengals are going to be so motivated going into next week's game after what just happened in both. So it'll be really fun to watch.
I'm not so sold on that Lamar take. I mean, obviously, if he still is truly hurt, I'm not saying he should go out in there and play, but, they didn't even, bring him to the game. That relationship is over, it looks like. I think he's gone next year. That seems
I get
bad
the feeling
there.
He was definitely, from what I'm understanding, I don't think he was ready to go out there and be his full self. And you don't play unless you're at least, 70%, right? And the other thing is it's a playoff game. We've seen Lamar put his body on the line for less than that. And I firmly believe, it's not like I know the guy, I don't know all the behind the organization stuff, but I firmly believe that even if he despised everything about the Ravens, that the competitor in him would want to go out there to give himself a chance to win that game and, make it to a division, make it to the next round and play for Super Bowl eventually. So I think he would have played if he could have. I think he did the right thing, though.
I'm not talking about him not playing, though, but, they didn't even bring him to the game. Even when you're not playing, you can be a huge asset on the sideline. Even someone like Carson Wentz, all of our quarterbacks, praise him on the sideline and, helping him in between drives, especially with a guy like Huntley that's so similar to Lamar, man. Mm-hmm. It's kind of a schemed-up offense. But, man, you got to – I'm assuming this was the Ravens being dude, just stay home. But, even when you're injured, man, you're an asset on that sideline, pumping up your guys, breaking down the game, helping your guys. So something is wrong with it. The fact that he wasn't there is an awful look, and I think those two are done with each other. I think he's going to move on. I don't know.
Lamar to gangrene? Think Lamar to gangrene?
I think assuming he's available, I think that's probably the one that makes the most sense. Someone started the Detroit rumor, which I probably shouldn't mention just after getting shamed on YouTube Shorts by everyone for suggesting that Aaron could go there. Everyone, I mean, two people. But, it's going to be interesting. I think he's gone, though, for sure. I don't know what they're going to do, though. It seems like they might pivot to a more traditional offense, because I think they might fire Roman, too. That's going to be a really interesting storyline this offseason, though.
And they're in an interesting spot, too, because they don't have a high draft pick, because they did make the playoffs, and obviously Harbaugh, we'll see if Harbaugh wants to stick around for a long time, because this feels like a total rebuild kind of situation. Their defense is solid, but they have so much they need to do on the offense, because if you don't have Lamar Jackson, then you don't have it's not like they ever had great receivers. They had Mark Andrews, who's amazing, but you need a lot more than what they have if you're going to get a more traditional quarterback. So, we'll see, though. Who knows, dude? For all you know, we could say all this and Lamar could get some $200 million, $300 million bag. I don't want to get
ahead of it. I think it's going to be interesting. My prediction would be Harbaugh is there. They fire the OC, and Lamar is gone, and they bring in kind of a traditional quarterback. They added one receiver to go alongside Bateman, although I forget what he got hurt with, but I want to say it was something pretty bad. So then you got Andrews there. Dobbins started looking good. And obviously the defense was amazing this year. So I think they could be in good shape. But we'll see. But like you said, I feel like this relationship should be, football wise, it's perfect. I feel like they should keep running it back. I mean, to like trade an MVP level quarterback to me is insane.
Crazy.
Even with his contract limiting, but we'll see what happens. I guess that leads us to our last game of the week. Cowboys smashed Tampa Bay. Wasn't even close. Dak might have ended Tom Brady's career.
What are the odds that he's 7-0? What are the odds he's 7-0 against Cowboys, and then he loses this one? Wild.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it would be closer just because the Cowboys do Cowboys things. Like, everything that can go wrong will go wrong. And Brett Maher, true to form, came up with one of the most ridiculous ways to, have a disaster evening. But, Dak was incredible. Dak was absolutely lights out. And honestly, like, I think I kind of said it a little bit last week, like, the Bucs are terrible. Like, I was, fading a closer game more so because I didn't trust the Cowboys to have a big performance. So I got that wrong. But the Bucs, man, were terrible all year. The Cowboys did what they probably should do to them and smashed them. So, in hindsight, it shouldn't be that surprising given the talent disparities of these two teams, I think.
It's not surprising, but I will also say that prior to last week, and not to pat myself on the back or anything, I did say that the Cowboys have been putting up mad points, and the thing with them in specific is they can blow up against anybody, and they can also suck against anybody. And the ceiling for them, I genuinely believe, is making it to the Super Bowl. Like, they have that kind of offensive firepower to do it, and their defense is not bad by any stretch of imaginations, especially led by Michael Parsons, who is just an absolute monster on that field. And really, in the playoffs, that's what you need. You need a pass rush, and you need an offense that can put up points. And they have both, and they have a balanced offense. Thing is, you just never know what you're going to get from them. And if this game was close, missing 4 extra points in the playoffs is actually amazing. And Ev being, I don't know if maybe he just didn't want to rub salt in our wound, so he didn't bring this up. But we decided to bet the over on that game. And it is absolutely comical. This has got to be one of the worst bad beats we've ever seen. But the over was 45.5, and Brett Maher missed 4 field goals, and the Buccaneers decided to go for 2 at a time when they could have kicked an extra point. And any of those 5 extra points would have given us the over. And all 5 of those things didn't work out, and it finished at 45. It's actually comical. I still don't understand how that's possible. However, I mean, it's amazing, bro. They got to be count themselves so lucky that this game wasn't close.
Yeah, I feel like more people weren't, or not enough people were talking about how bad of a beat that was. Like, usually when there's a bad beat, like, everyone's all over it. But, like, I didn't hear much on this one, and I was like, this is ridiculous. I'm sure Scott Van Pelt had it last night. Mm-hmm. I didn't stay up late enough to watch that, but I'll definitely have to find it tonight because that's an all-timer.
Dude, there was definitely someone out there who had like a parlay where he was like, 1 extra point away from winning like $1 million, and Maher missed 4 extra points. I guarantee you that happened somewhere out there. That was absurd, bro.
Yeah, it is. And maybe it's because it's anticlimactic. Like, it didn't happen all at the end of the game, but like when you look back on all the missed opportunities for that 1 extra point, I mean, I don't know, man. I'm glad he made the last one though, because he had a tremendous year. So like,
yeah, and that's the thing. Like, everyone's talking about like how he's like, going to be done with them. I don't think so. He's made a lot of great field goals. I think the nerves got to him, but I bet you he'll come back next week and make a big field goal here and there. But that was still wild. Like, you talk about the yips, man. That's crazy.
That guy was going through it, man. Dak's reaction, throwing the helmet, Michael Gallup side-eyeing him over on the bench. Dude, that was so funny.
I also want to give you credit where credit is due, because you made a point about the NFC East last week, and currently in the second round of the playoffs, we have 3 out of 4 NFC East teams in the second round of playoffs. That's crazy.
My other pat myself on the back is going to be Tony Pollard this year. That dude is electric. He is so good.
Everyone's defense, I think everybody realized Tony Pollard was going to be a great player this year. I think the difference is,
dude, you were hating on me for that take preseason, bro. Yes.
I want to rewind the tape.
Pull the clip. Pull the clip.
We'll pull the clip, but all I'll say is I won't dispute that you were higher on Tony Pollard than me, but I made it very clear that I think both Pollard and Zeke should be involved because I think even though Pollard is a younger, more dynamic player, I think Zeke also brings something to the table, and the combination of the two would create a great rushing offense for them, and I was not incorrect because Zeke also had a great season, and that's something where if you want to talk about not patting you on the back, you completely came out and disrespected Zeke coming into this year. You said anyone that drafts Zeke in fantasy, you said anyone that relies on Zeke in real life, they're crazy, he's washed, and I think Zeke had a great season too. But obviously Pollard is the better player at this stage.
It's not even close,
give you credit where credit's due. Yeah.
Pollard is downright electric. Austin Eckler, at a younger point of his career, one of my better takes of the year. Zach, roll the footage. Break the tie.
We'll see
break
if he
the
gets
tie.
the Austin Eckler level, bro. I think
Roll the footage.
How amazing Austin Eckler is, but that's all I got to say.
At that point of his career, I'm saying. I'm not saying he's ever going to, because Austin Eckler right now is an absolute savage. But anything else on recaps before we jump into next week, I guess?
Nah, man. Great weekend of football as always. Great start to the
Brilliant. All right, let's have some fun. Let's make some picks. Let's talk about these games in a little more detail than usual. First one, we got 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday. It looks like Jaguars at Chiefs. Kansas City's an 8.5-point home favorite. What do you got? And we maybe talk about.
I don't want to be rude to the Jaguars. You already know what I'm going to do, though. Like, they played a great game, had a huge comeback. However, the fact that Lawrence threw 4 turnovers and they had to do that to come back and win that game, I feel very confident in picking the Chiefs to cover that game, especially with how great the Chiefs have been all season. And I think, especially if I remember correctly, they played earlier this year, and that game was closer than I think the Chiefs would have liked for a little while there. So I think this one is going to be even more of a lopsided game for the Chiefs.
I believe it was 27-17 when it ended, but I do think it was fairly close for a while. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I have the Chiefs covering this as well. I'm ready for Holden's chirps once again, but I think no disrespect to the Jaguars, because I ultimately, think they are just as good, if not maybe even better than the Chargers in terms of their the Chargers constantly blowing games. But I do think this is a benefit for the Chiefs in that it's not a divisional matchup for the third time this year, like I mentioned earlier. So I don't think they have any problems. Like, I think the Jaguars will play well. I don't think it's going to be like some kind of blowout, but I could see a similar kind of 10-point game.
And even if it is like a 20-point game, the Jaguars this season is an absolute success for them, and their future is bright. So this isn't a knock against Jaguars as much as it is that I picked the Chiefs in the Super Bowl all year. So I'm not going to stray from them playing lights out. For sure.
I guess if nothing else on that one, Giants at Eagles is our Saturday night game. Phillies, it's a 7.5-point spread at home. I thought it was going to be a little higher, to be honest with you, closer to 10. I'll start us off here. I have the Eagles in my Super Bowl, so I think my take, I don't want to jump ahead games, but one of the next 2 games I think is going to be an upset. I don't know which one it's going to be, though. I think this could be one, just with how well the Giants are playing. Jalen Hurts is fighting through a sprained throwing shoulder. Like, that can't be good. It seems like he's fairly healthy at the moment, but they could be rusty. I also think, when you think about preparation, I don't know how much these teams prepare for a specific team, but certainly I don't think the Eagles were expecting to play the Giants, and maybe we're a little more focused on probably Dallas to say one team, but even Tampa Bay. And again, that third divisional game, I don't care that the Eagles beat the Giants by 50 or whatever that one time at MetLife, but I think this is going to be a really good game. I think the Eagles could lose. I have the Eagles in the Super Bowl, so thus I feel like it wouldn't really make sense for me to pick against them to lose. So I'm going to say Giants do cover, but end up losing in a close one late.
Ring my bell for upset of the week, maybe upset of the year. I'm going Giants, money line, beat the Eagles. Third time around. It's not because I don't trust the Eagles. It's not because I don't have love for them. It's because I just genuinely believe the Giants have the potential to do it. Their defense is playing great. Saquon Barkley's playing great. It's the best we've seen Daniel Jones play all year, and they're finding random guys to throw the ball to. I think they're going to figure out a way to do this, and I think the Giants are going to make some noise again in the second round. That's my upset of the week.
I love it, Sai. There's always one, and I'm being a bit of a coward this year and not picking one, but I'm picking 2 half ones and not actually but picking one. But yeah, I think it's going to be a good game. And I mean, again, it's the story of last week. The third divisional game, the Eagles. Actually, now that I think about it, week 18 when they just played, the Eagles played all of their starters against the Giants' backups. Mm-hmm. And it was a 6-point game.
I'm telling you, bro, the Giants in a divisional game, the third time around, against the Eagles, who have, as great as they've been all year, they've been very susceptible against teams with a similar mold to the Giants, i.e. your Commanders, even my Colts, where they barely won that game. There's something about this matchup that makes me feel like, if this was the Cowboys, I think the Cowboys had a shot too, divisional game. But I just think something about the Giants and the way they're playing right now makes me really, coming into this episode, that was the one that was on my mind. So, yep.
Fascinating. I love it, Sai. Bold pick. I feel like you just had penciled in Eagles for divisional round loss because last week in our bracket show, you picked them to lose this round as well.
I thought it was going to be the Cowboys. I just thought they'd get a bad matchup out of the way because I thought they'd get a divisional game. Yeah.
Right. Anyways, very interesting choices there. But Sunday, 3 p.m., I think this is potentially going to be the game of the year. Bengals at Bills in Orchard. So I'll say what I said a couple of weeks ago. Obviously, this is the game that we expected 2 weeks ago when DeMar went down. Glad he's doing well out of the hospital.
Happy to hear that, man.
I think this could be game of the year. I'm still shocked, and maybe they're just doing this out of respect for DeMar and not trying to raise a fuss about like football in that situation, even though he's fine now. But like, why are they not freaking out about this being in Orchard Park? Because they were freaking out about the coin toss against Baltimore and how that was going to potentially decide the venue for last week's game. But whoever won that game that didn't happen would have gotten this to be a home game, unless the Bills had won and then won the 1 seed, and then it would have changed things up completely. But like, shouldn't this at least be a neutral site? I don't know. I think that's a huge, huge favor to the Bills because I think the Bengals are probably the better team right now. I don't know. What do you think?
So who are you picking then?
I mean, I picked the Bills to win the Super Bowl. So like, I feel like I can't like pick against my bracket when it's still holding so strong. And I think like Orchard Park, especially with the weather, I checked it the other day, obviously a week out, it could be some of that Buffalo weather, like fringe. It won't be that cold. It'll be like fringe, maybe sleet, snow, potentially during the game. Big offensive line injuries after last week as well for Cincinnati. That's going to be a huge factor. So I'm going to say the Bengals do cover, but I'm going to say the Bills find a way to win, which goes against my intuition a little bit because I feel like of these two teams, which one do I trust to make the big play as opposed to, like I said earlier, make the catastrophic play? Right now, it's the Bengals. I mean, they did it all last year in their playoff run. So it's a little counterintuitive. I'm going to say the Bills win, but don't cover.
I will say, I keep saying it, like it would be storybook to see the Bills win the Super Bowl this year and make that run, and I really do want them to. But last week I picked the Bengals, and there's a reason, an absolute reason why they're not complaining. And the reason they're not complaining is because they got a guy named Joe Burrow playing quarterback, and all that guy does is win. He doesn't care where it is. I mean, obviously he'd prefer to have it at home, but what did the guy do last year? He won on the road every single week up until the Super Bowl, and then almost took down one of the most loaded rosters in the Rams we've ever seen. Burrow has got that dog in him. I am not at all worried about him. This is one of the clutchest, most lethal players we've ever seen in both college football and in the NFL in his early career right off the bat. And that's why I don't think you're hearing a bunch of noise. I think Stacy and Burrow are saying, along with all their weapons out there, are saying, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, we're going to go win this game. And I believe they will. I think they, especially after the close game last week, I think they're going to come out and win. This was my pick last week, and I'm going to stick with that pick because all I feel is more confident that they're going to be more motivated to do it. I mean, I hope the Bills win. Either way, I'm happy because, like you said, I think this is going to be an incredible game, and I think either of these teams are an easy team to root for. They have players that are super likable in their own stories, coming off both the DeMar situation as well as the which, I mean, you can't compare anything to that. So happy he's doing better. But then also the Bengals coming back from losing the Super Bowl last year, being motivated. This is going to be so fun to watch, though. I'm keyed up.
If there was ever an arbitrary, like random, not Commanders NFL game that I would want to go to, I feel like
this would be the one.
I would love to rent a car and drive the 8 hours to Buffalo for this game.
It would have to be this one, or it would have to be if we saw Buffalo Chiefs next round. Because just after last year, the fireworks, like, yeah, the AFC is just fun right now, bro. It's just fun.
And they were saying it on the Monday Night Football broadcast before this regular season game was about to happen. We haven't seen these two teams play really, like since Burrow took over and the Bengals got hot. So it's like we've seen the Chiefs and Bills so much that I think it's just like the fact that we haven't seen it. Man, I think it's gonna be awesome. But yeah, I like your picks this week. So this is such a lame prediction because it's like don't have the stones to actually pick one of these upsets. But so my prediction is that one of the Eagles or Bills lose, which I know isn't some kind of impressive take, but you picked them both. I love it. But I'm looking forward to that one. The Sunday night game, or I guess evening game, 6:30. Cowboys, a historic rivalry here. Cowboys at the Niners. Another surprising spread to me. San Francisco is only a 3.5-point favorite. With Cowboys coming off that impressive performance against the Bucs, San Francisco has an extra 2 days to prepare. Sneaky. Although they're probably surprised by the team they're playing as well. So I'll let you start us off here on who you got this one.
Well, I said last week in my playoff predictions that the 49ers with Mr. Irrelevant is going to be the one to take down Mahomes in the Super Bowl and win it all. And nothing about last week is making me want to change that take. The Cowboys are amazing. I'm not going to be surprised if they win the game. I mean, obviously Dak's playing out of his mind, and in the playoffs, the quarterback can very much make the difference. However, that defense on the 49ers is insane. Deebo Samuel is insane. Christian McCaffrey is insane. George Kittle is insane. Ayuk is their number 4 weapon on their offense. And then Purdy is playing like a legit, all-pro, or at least all-pro is a bold statement, but at least a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback right now. And I'm not just saying that. He's not just managing. He's making plays. And I'm not saying he'll do that forever, but while he's hot like this, there's no way I can pick against the 49ers. So 100% going 49ers. I've already picked my 2 upsets for the week. This one I'm going with the team I expect to win it all. So shout out to the 49ers this week.
Yeah, maybe my bold take is that the Niners actually murder them by, I might even tease that up to like a -9.5 spread. I think they could beat them over 10, maybe even closer to 20. My favorite stat of the week that I learned that I didn't know about, which I'm surprised by, is the Cowboys' record on grass. Did you hear this on the broadcast? That they're like, when they play on turf, which obviously their home field is turf, so like McCarthy caught this a nothing burger. I don't blame him, but they're 11-1 on turf, and then 1-3 or 4 or whatever on grass. Just because apparently the grass slows down the pass rush a little bit. Didn't last night, but. Yeah, so I just think this is they're going to lay an egg. I think they're going to make a ton of mistakes. I think they're going to get killed.
I think the Niners will cover. I personally would not want to tease that spread because I just feel like this is going to be closer. But I don't have as much bias in this game, so I'm gonna say Niners to cover, but not anything crazy or anything like that. That's my personal opinion. And again, I would not surprise me if the Cowboys won, but I'm not picking against the Niners. I think the Niners are on a great trajectory right now. I want to say real quick, if we're shifting gears real quick, I want to give a huge shout out to Mr. LeBron James at the moment. He just had his third at the age of 38, his third game of 45-5 at least. Yesterday, obviously, it was against the Rockets, which is one of the worst teams in the league. But yesterday, LeBron James had 49 points. I think it was 9 rebounds and 8 assists or something. First of all, I don't know how you get 8 assists on that terrible team. I don't know who is scoring the ball when you pass it to him. I don't understand that. However, one thing I don't want to fly under the radar this year for the NBA season is thus far, even though the Lakers are the 11th seed, LeBron should be in the MVP conversation because the guy currently is averaging 29, 8 and 9 at the age of 38 years old. And the thing is, even though they're the 11th seed and they haven't won as many games, if you look at the team's plus minus, when LeBron James has been on the court with Anthony Davis out, the Lakers are plus 90 over the last however many games that Davis has been out. So it's been a huge sample size, at least 15 games. They're plus 90. So on average, they're averaging about 9 points per game above the other team when LeBron's on the team. And most people couldn't even tell you who's playing next to LeBron. That's how dominant he's playing at the age of 38. The problem is when he's off the floor and the bench comes in, they're minus 110 in those games. So there's your differentiator. I just want to give a really big shout out to LeBron James, who is just doing things that no human being should be able to do at the age of 38 in a league full of the greatest athletes in the world, or at least some of them. And I think he deserves a little tip of the cap. So shout out to LeBron. It's my GOAT right there.
I don't know, man. I don't think you can be in the MVP conversation as an 11 seed, as good as he's been.
I mean, I obviously realize he's not going to win, but I'm just pointing out like how incredible he has been. And I think it gets swept under the rug given the Lakers' lack of success, but it's definitely not because of him. So that's all I wanted to say.
All right. Yeah, thanks for watching. As always, check us out on YouTube, Spotify, Instagram. You can now see our shorter clips on YouTube Shorts if that interests you. An exciting new feature. All right, thanks again, everyone. That was Mondays Down South.